Here we are again, same place, different car. We've already talked about permanent, part-time, centre differentials. As I said before, viscous coupling. What is it? Basically a fluid drive, chain-driven, automatic lock-in centre diff. Now, you can see how the Freelander's set up now, and you've seen by the other four-wheel drives, every time we've tried to go away, we've had one-wheel drive. As you can see by this, we should get one-wheel drive. Julian, if you could just demonstrate to us what actually happens when viscous coupling takes place. And as you can see, we've got a damn near even split. It's probably actually 60-40. But what the viscous coupling is doing is, it's distributed the drive out a little bit more evenly. But the main important factor there is that it is actually ensuring that drive is staying at both axles. But as you can see from this, and as I spoke about earlier on, suspension plays a big part in off-road driving. So what we're going to try and do now is try and explain to you the different types of suspension systems that Land Rover have used throughout the years. This is suspension. This is a coil spring. It could be a leaf spring, it could be a torsion bar. They all differ in the way that they adapt to the terrain. What this does is twofold. It gives you that ride comfort on the road, but with a four-wheel drive vehicle, it also ensures that the axles adapt to the terrain. This is the shock absorber. The shock absorber, exactly what it says it does. When this body, you can see this travel here, at some point, this travel has got to come back down. That ensures that it comes back down slowly. Other than that, you'd be going like you would be rocking in a Force 10 at sea. What we're going to show you now is a section of terrain to show you the different capabilities of the different types of suspension. Okay, now let's try and show you what suspension does. Just remember what I said before though. Suspension allows the wheels to keep in contact with the ground. That's what makes a four-wheel drive better off-road than any other vehicle. The first vehicle we're going to use now is Ray in the Series 2 Land Rover. It's a 2.25 petrol leaf-sprung part-time four-wheel drive. Ray's actually engaged low four-wheel drive. He's in first gear. You can still hear the revs are fairly high. That's because this engine hasn't got a lot of low-down torque. Well, it has, but it hasn't got as much as the diesels. Whoops, a daisy. If you just catch a eye of the mud on the back of that car now, you'll just notice that Ray's departure angle exceeded the car then. And as you can see now, Ray's got a slight problem there. He's actually stuck, if you look at the angle of the car, stuck going downhill. That shouldn't happen, should it really? But it's a little bit down to the suspension, okay? It hasn't got the flexibility of the coils. And you see, what Ray had to do then was go a little bit faster. He's used the car's momentum, in fact, to get it through there. Now, you know, Ray is an expert at that. Some people try a little bit too much momentum and end up dropping themselves in all sorts of trouble. You see again, what he's actually doing as he's driving, he's developed something what we call ground reading skills. He's reading the ground, but he's not accelerating because he's just got to stall the car. Okay, so that's the Series 2. Let's go to its successor, the 90 Defender permanent four-wheel drive with coil spring suspension. Let's see how that tackles this terrain. So again, we put it into low gearbox. First gear, slightly just above tick over, not quite engine revving like before. Some of you may turn around and look at it and think, oh, it's got better tyres on, but they are worn, I can assure you that. So it eases it into the situation, eases it in again. Now, first thing that you may have noticed there was that we had a lot more clearance. Slightly bigger tyres, which helps, but look at the adaptability through that terrain just there. It's actually incredible. Look at it. Now, this is where Ray got stuck. Look at that, a little bit of wheel spin, but the Defender carried on through. That just shows that its suspension has actually got more adaptability. It's got more wheel travel, which keeps the wheels in contact longer with the ground. The noise that you can hear as you're picking up is just the power steering. It's actually on full lock coming round there. So if you listen to the engines, that's the main point you can hear as well. The suspension's obviously better, but listen to the engine. Just above tick over. Just applying that little bit of power when it needs it, just to climb out of the wet hills. Now, some people say that the short wheelbases are better. The 90 is actually 2 inches longer wheelbase than the Series 2 Land Rover that we just used earlier on. So a lot of people say that its ramp, breakover angles, departure angles, etc. are better. We're going to come to that shortly and show you the difference. But now we're going to move over to the 110 Defender, a longer wheelbase car. Let's see how that tackles this terrain. As before, the cars have already engaged low gearbox. You see they back off before the situation, ease right off, which helps lower the car in. As you can see, it's lowering itself in, it's not compressing, lessens the chance of any damage. Look at the back of the car though. Look how close it actually gets as opposed to the 90. That's because of the overhangs that are on the car. But look at the flexibility of the suspension. It's still working just as good. You heard a bang there, you probably saw the bang. The tow bar, that's the departure angle on the car. That's what we're going to be coming to later in the programme. But look at that, straight around that corner. Who said women can't drive like men? Okay. Now, this is its weak point here. Now you may notice here that Amanda, she may try and do it in one go. No, she's not going to. Yes, she is. I was hoping that Amanda might actually take a shunt just there. But just watch the back of the car now. Look, ooh, look at it. The front slid, the back's just slid as well. That's a side slope capability and down to traction as well. You just see there, you probably can't see there, you may do, but look at the chassis on that section just there. It came very, very close to hitting the ground. That's the car's ramp breakover. If that happens, if you land on your chassis, the back wheels or the front wheels or all four wheels can be lifted off the floor and you're stuck. Okay, that's the 110 Defender. Plenty of clearances front and back. So let's try a Discovery. A lot of people think they're just used, probably 90% of them, probably used on the school run or the supermarket run. Let's see how that tackles this terrain. Again, as before with all the other ones. Now this one actually hasn't got the front spoiler on it because of the winch. And you'll see again, now we've asked Ed to do this one slightly wrong. And just watch this. This is going to get stuck in a minute. And there we go. And as you can see, Ed's purposely put this vehicle into an axle twister. The wheels diagonally across are the wheels with the least resistance. So we're stuck. Now bear that in mind, because in a moment we're going to bring up Discovery 2. Viscous coupling with traction control in exactly the same place. Let's see how that copes. But in the meantime, I'm going to get Ed to reverse and pick a slightly better route so this car goes through. This is actually what we're going to be coming to later on. Ground reading skills. You know, a good driver would have actually, from where they are now, they would be actually already assessing the terrain, looking at it, trying to read the terrain so they keep the axles level. That way, you've got equal distribution of weight and drive. 50%. That's what you're trying to do when you do it. As you can see now, Ed's actually moved the car over about 3 feet. And look at the axles. You'll see that they actually stay a lot leveler. Got an increase in possibility of approaching. And just watch the front of this winch here. The overhang. Look at the approach angle. Look. See, just kisses the ground. And then look at the back. Look. Crunch. Crunch. 2 crunches. The tow bar and the rear quarter. Now, if Ed had been travelling faster over that terrain, we'd have got more body sway. It could have hit us even harder and we could have been looking at parts of the Discovery sitting in the ground just here then. As you can see though, it's still tackling the terrain, and if you're listening to it, listen to that engine. It's just chugging away. That 300 TDI develops something like 160 pound-feet torque at 1750 revs, 1750 revs. Some cars have to get up to about 3,000 to develop that sort of torque. That's what gives these cars the ability to go slow. And as a first-time off-road driver, this is what you've got to train yourself to do. You've got to slow down, you've got to lower the gears, and you've got to keep those revs down. And it will help you read the terrain, and it will help you steer a lot more controllably as well. As you saw just then, Ed actually took a little shunt then, again, purely to set the car up, possibly to reduce the damage, but it also gave him a better line through there. You can see there, look how the suspension's working, but at no point in either of the coil, the Defender 90 with the coils, the Discovery, has a wheel come off the ground or lost traction, just like the series motor. But you can see, you may notice as we go in through here, the tow bar gets close, but the sills are actually getting very, very close. This is still ramp breakover angle. Again, there's a misconception that the ramp breakover angle is when the chassis lands. It's not. Look at the sill just then. Look how close it came to hitting the ground. Now, Ed's going to change vehicles now, and he's going to come through this section that we just got stuck a few moments ago, but we're going to come through with Discovery 2. TD5 Discovery with a viscous coupling, centre differential, and traction control. What is traction control? Traction control is, as you saw then, Edward was stuck, so the wheel was spinning. Traction control is the ABS computer. What it does, it senses the wheels spinning, and it applies the brakes to the wheels that are spinning. It tries to fool that differential to send the drive to the other wheel. And I think now you'll see a very vivid demonstration of how that works.